wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about just veterinary medicine in general. Tino and I did. It's kind of a profession in crisis, right? It's like it's not your imagination if you've noticed that it's hard to get your veterinarian to pay attention to you. It's hard to find a veterinarian that's taking new clients. There's this veterinary shortage. And I wrote a whole book about that called Zen and the Art of Caring for Pets, which basically talked about kind of the crisis that we're in, although the pandemic made it much worse. But if you wait, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to help bring holistic veterinary medicine more integrated into veterinary medicine. And you guys have a lot of power here. So what's happened is our profession has become more pharmaceutically driven and more laboratory tests, right? Have you noticed that you take your dog, he just started limping, and you wanted to do the right thing, so you go to your veterinarian, and your veterinarian might say, we need to run CAT scans, MRI, x-rays, but lots of tests for a dog who just started limping a few days ago. And a lot of that's driven through liability, through fear, and fear-mongering. A lot of things going on there. But in the old days, I don't know if you guys remember the old days, they weren't that long ago, and honestly, I remember them well because that's when I started off in practice. An old timer might have said, hey, your dog's limping, you know what, let's watch it for a few days. Why don't you rest him or keep him from jumping up and down off the sofa and see if it gets better in 3 or 4 days. It was a very practical approach which we have lost in veterinary medicine. And when we lost that approach, we also lost a lot more. And the thing is, there's not a veterinary shortage. There's plenty of veterinarians. There's not veterinarians that want to stay in the profession. It is literally it is a profession in crisis. The 3 things I want you guys to know that you can do to interact with your veterinarian. So let's say you're a little bit hesitant about going to the veterinarian. A lot of my clients are, but you need a blood test. You don't want to get pushed into vaccines you don't want. You don't want to get pushed into flea medicines you don't need. But that's the way the profession's driving right now. You're going to want to patiently ask your veterinarian, if you can, just wait to see a flea before you start on flea medicines. Can we wait to see at least one flea before we start on these drugs that have potential side effects? The side effects of flea medications involve the liver and the nervous systems. We can get seizures as a sequela of a lot of conventional flea medicines. So how about we just only do them during the flea season? An old-fashioned practical way of handling the over-prescribing of flea medicines. Same thing with vaccinations. On our website, we have a lot of things about vaccinations. You can try to work with your veterinarian about these things a little bit more. Instead of being angry and sort of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and being, I'm going to say, difficult, so that you're considered a difficult client, try to be overly nice, sort of say, how can I just interact with this vet community that I don't necessarily always agree with in the most kind way, and also understand where the veterinarian's coming from, because really we are generally, as veterinarians, fear-based people. I hate to say it, but it's also one of the problems with our profession, fear-based. So it doesn't help to come in and just be angry about it. Interacting with your veterinarian is about foods. So say your veterinarian sells science diet and foods that you don't necessarily agree with. Other foods, it could be any brand that you don't agree with. And you are maybe a raw feeder. Instead of being kind of so much in the veterinarian's face about that, because the vets aren't going to be on board for raw feeding, I could do a whole video on raw versus cooked feeding and explain why. Because sometimes a lot of people don't do raw feeding correctly, and guess what? Those are the ones the veterinarian sees with, who are sick. The dogs that are sick from raw feeding, it's a lot of times the people, they don't realize they have to do a slow transition and things like that. So it's not coming from 100% that they want to make money on their foods. It's also coming from a point of what they've seen experientially with people who haven't done things correctly. So with foods, I want you to be patient. I want you to say, look at my dog, look at his teeth, look at his coat. Doesn't he look healthy? And I am a raw feeder, and I just want you to see that my dog isn't overweight. There are very few raw fed dogs that are overweight. If anything, they can be a little underweight. It's just not a thing, you know? And so you can try to talk to the vet that way. Is my dog overweight? No, he's not. It's because of how I'm feeding him. Is my dog healthy from whatever, maybe ear infections and other diseases that he used to get before he was raw fed? Yes, he is. And so maybe just try a little more of a dialogue with that. So, okay, so we talked about how to handle over medication, over prescription, overly prescribed medication, overly prescribed vaccinations, and also conventional foods. You have the power. You are the ones paying the money at your veterinary clinic, whether it's for the horses, right? He's a good boy. Got flies on your eyes. Whether it's for horses or dogs or cats or birds, it doesn't matter. You know, if you want to find an option to pharmaceuticals, if you want to ask your vet for options, and the more people that do that in a kind, compassionate way, understanding that they don't come from that point of view, the more we will have success as an integrated modality. We will be able to bring holistic veterinary medicine into conventional veterinary medicine more and more and more. And I just want you guys to know you have the power, but you only have the power if you're kind and understanding. If you're not kind and understanding, your veterinarian will probably not want to see you that much and also not pay that much attention to what you're saying. And so really, you want dialogue. You want really good dialogue with your veterinarian. Okay, you guys, jeez, hello. If you guys, okay, wait. If you guys want to subscribe, share, comment, don't be mean to him on top of me. And tell me what you think. Hey, why don't you tell me things that you have done in this regard, to be positive about holistic veterinary medicine, to help your veterinarian understand where you're coming from in regard to this. I think it's really great if we can share stories. So if you can put some in the comments in the chat about what's happened with you and your veterinarian, that would be just great. Thank you guys so much. Tino and Mick say bye-bye.